Hey there, welcome back. I'm Flat Rate Mechanic, and today we're diving into a pretty common issue with the 2014 Nissan Altima. If you've ever faced a check engine light alongside a coolant leak, you'll want to stick around. We'll be talking about how to pressure test your cooling system for leaks and decode that pesky P1217 code. So, have you been wondering why your engine might be overheating or why your coolant's disappearing? Let's get into it. First up, let's talk about verifying the customer concern. This Altima has about 123,000 miles on it, and the owner reported a check engine light and a suspected coolant leak. When I looked at it, I noticed a traction light and a brake light on too. Definitely not uncommon when multiple systems act up. But here's the deal. You can't jump to conclusions. You need to confirm what's going on. So we start by scanning for trouble codes. I hooked up my Autel scan tool, and sure enough, the P1217 code popped up. This code indicates that the engine control module, or ECM, is seeing some discrepancies with the coolant temperature. Now, this often ties back to a coolant leak. If there isn't enough coolant in the system, the temperature readings can go haywire. But here's a pro tip. That P1217 code doesn't always mean there's a leak. In fact, about 40% of the time, it could be a bad sensor or an ECM issue. Still, when a customer mentions losing coolant and we see this code, it's a solid indication we need to dig deeper. Now let's get into the fun part, setting up the cooling system pressure test. I love using a pressure tester. It's a fantastic tool for locating leaks. You can find these universal pressure tester kits pretty affordably. I mean, one of my buddies spent $1,000 on his while I snagged mine for under $250 online. When you get your kit, you'll notice it comes with various adapters to fit pretty much any vehicle. Once you've got your equipment ready, it's crucial to ensure the engine is cold. We're talking below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, folks. Trust me, you don't want to risk getting sprayed with hot coolant. That can seriously burn you. After confirming the engine is cool, I take off the radiator cap. For the Altima, it's rated at 16 psi, which is standard. If you need to replace yours, look for the full OEM part number 21481-890A or the aftermarket. Stant 111771. Next, you'll want to pick the right adapter, the radiator neck on these. Altima's is about 1.65 inches in diameter, so you'll need to find an adapter that seals tightly. I use a spring-loaded gasket adapter for a solid seal. Now that we're set up, I connect the pump to the adapter and start pressurizing the system to about 15 psi. That's the sweet spot. You might hear some people say to pump it higher, but that's risky. You could damage hoses or other components that were fine at normal pressure. So stick to 15 to 16 psi and give it some time. Alright, so here's where it gets interesting. As I'm pumping it up, I notice this one won't hold pressure. It's leaking pretty bad. We had to top off the coolant since it was low. After that, I pumped it again, and boom, there it is. I can see coolant dripping right at the seam where the plastic meets the aluminum at the bottom of the radiator. This is super common in Altimas once they reach about 100,000 miles. Those plastic end tanks can fail over time due to heat cycles, and once they start leaking, it's game over. You'll need a new radiator. If you're facing this issue, for a 2014 Altima, OEM radiators cost between $150 to $350, while aftermarket options run about $80 to $150. Taking it to a shop could set you back $800 to $1,500 for the whole job, so doing it yourself can save you a good chunk of change. Now let's chat about some common mistakes I see when pressure testing. First off, don't ever test on a hot engine. Seriously, wait until everything is cool to the touch. Another key point is not to pump the system too high. Stick to that 15 to 16 psi. Higher pressure won't help you find leaks faster. It could create new ones. And make sure your adapter is sealing properly. A loose connection can lead to loss of pressure, making you think there's a leak when it's just the tester leaking. If you're unsure, a bit of soapy water can help you find any leaks around the connection. You might be wondering, what if I can't find any visible leaks, but the system won't hold pressure? That could mean you have an internal leak, maybe a bad head gasket or heater core. If you can't see any drips, then it's time to explore other tests. Before I wrap up, let's go over some frequently asked questions. What PSI should you use to pressure test a Nissan Altima? Always stick to 15 PSI. And does a P1217 code always mean you have a leak? Not necessarily. It can also indicate a bad sensor. But if you're losing coolant, there's a good chance there's a real leak. In closing, remember to verify the customer's concerns, scan for codes, and properly pressure test your cooling system. It's all about being methodical and thorough. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.